Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Seed Speaks. My name is Ashley Robinson. I'm the editor of the Alberta Seed Guide, and I'll be acting as your host for this episode. On today's episode of Seed Speaks, we're taking a closer look at why consumers should care about certified seed and all the work that goes into producing it. I'd like to thank Andrew Dawson, Sarah Wilbanks, and Todd Hyra for joining us. And to those watching, please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have for our guests in the chat box. And we're going to start with getting to know our panelists. So, Andrew, can you please tell me about your farm and your role with the Ontario Seed Growers Association?
Sure thing, Ashley. Thanks for having me join you today. I'm currently chair of the Ontario Seed Growers Association, and my wife, Julie, and I own and operate a farm operation, River Run Farm, and we're about 45 minutes east of Ottawa, so just located in eastern Ontario. And we have a mixed farm operation. We have a herd of beef cattle. We have a pick-your-own-strawberry patch, and we grow corn, soybeans, and wheat as a cash crop and as pedigreed seed growers. And run about 1,000 acres here just on the west side of Ottawa.
Thank you. And Sarah, thanks so much for being here. Can you tell me a bit about your work at the Association of Official Seed Certifying Agencies?
Sure, Ashley. Thanks for having me. I'm Sarah Wilbanks. I am the CEO of AOSCA. It's quite a mouthful, obviously. Just a little bit about our organization in case the audience is not familiar with us, but we are a global corporation who has been focused on seed certification and other crop verification type systems for over 100 years. We have member agencies on 3 continents that assist in interstate and international commerce of quality seed and crop propagation materials. AOSCA itself doesn't actually certify any crops. We are the group that is responsible for establishing minimum crop standards that are adopted by each agency so that they can carry out the processes of seed certification. And we currently have standards for over 70 crop kinds.
Thank you. And certainly, last but not least, Todd, can you tell me about your job and what you do there at SeCan?
So, my name's Todd Hyra. I'm based out of Winnipeg. I am the Western Business Manager for SeCan. So in that role, I support my marketing staff who work with our over 500 members who grow, process, and sell pedigreed seed across Western Canada.
Perfect. Thank you guys all so much once again for being here. And let's get started on our discussion. So Sarah, my first question is for you. Can you just tell me, why is certified seed important?
Yeah, absolutely. So the term certified or seed certification refers to a third-party verification process that assures seed customers that they're receiving the pure varieties and high-quality seed for planting. So really assuring that what you're getting in the bag is true to type and those quality traits that someone is looking for. So the purpose of seed certification is to preserve the genetic purity and varietal identity of varieties. And since all varieties were established with intellectual property, it's part of our job to help protect that IP within our processes. So within that, this is done through adherence to standards that AOSCA puts out, and these are crop specific. This includes things that we look for like land history, eligible seed stock, field inspections, and all of this ensures varietal identity, purity, isolation, all the way through the process of testing the seed in the laboratories. So in many countries, not the US, certified seed is actually a requirement for crop production because of the value of the programs. So therefore, utilizing the seed certification system does protect seed customers in both their domestic and export markets.
Thank you. It really is. There's so many little details to it. And that's why I'm excited to really have this conversation today. And Todd, of course, you work a lot with seed growers and farmers and everything. So why is the quality of seed important for both farmers and those shopping for food in the grocery stores?
Well, it's an old saying, but we've used it around the seed industry for a long time. But 9 out of 10 bites of food starts with seed. And so right from the beginning, if the seed is not of high quality, the entire crop could be lost. And so all of the other inputs and all of the other efforts are lost unless the seed gives you a good start from the beginning.
That's a really good point. I think we joke about it in the seed industry. You know, it's like the basis of everything. Seed is the basis of everything. And you sometimes just mistake it or something, especially if you're not in the seed industry. You really forget that if you don't have seed, you don't have anything when it comes to a crop.
It's very true, because you can have the land prepared, you can have all of the crop inputs, you can have the right weather, but if you've got germination or quality issues with the seed that get it off to a poor start, you've lost a lot of that crop's potential. So it's so critical to kick things off in the right way. The risks involved in farming are big, and having good quality seed is one of the things that can help minimize some of those risks.
And of course, that feeds really good into our next question, which is for Andrew, our resident seed grower on this panel. So what do you find is the main misconception consumers have about seed growing? Because it is such a very highly specific part of the farming world.
It is. And that's a good question, Ashley. And as I talk to friends or colleagues who I would consider consumers who live in more of an urban environment, and I talk about being seed growers, they think that we plant a rather large garden. When they think of seed, they think of the sweet corn or the peas or the carrot seed they pick up at their local nursery store or Canadian Tire and plant their garden. So it's a bit of an education campaign sometimes to explain ourselves and our farm operation as pedigreed seed growers. So I think the misconception some consumers would have is that they probably have never thought about it or never occurred to them all the work that goes in the background to ensure that there is a high quality but also high volume of seed available to be able to ensure that, I say, this year or next year's crop is planted and successful. So I think a lot of consumers maybe just haven't thought about the work that has to go in the background to make sure that seed is available for all farmers.
Those are really good points. And I know just working anywhere in agriculture reporting, a lot of the time we're sitting there trying to remind people there's so many steps before food makes it to the grocery store. And a lot of time people forget about that. And there's so many people involved, from truckers that are moving food that's prepared, from factory workers that are making sure that food is ready to be set on the shelves. And then of course, those on the farm that are growing the food. And then before that, there's the people that are making the seed so that those farmers can grow the food. Like, there's a million more steps, I think, than most people think about. And I don't even think about that most days when I'm in the grocery store picking something up. It's so much to get that little can of food that you get. But my next question, I think, is going to build off some stuff that Todd kind of said before, and maybe I'll get him to answer first, and then you guys can follow through the rest of you. So does certified seed really make a difference in food quality?
Yeah, as the starting point, absolutely. And so depending on the food product and the end use, it can have a dramatic effect. I'll use the example of malting barley. There are very specific malting barley types for depending on the beverage or some cases the food type. And so knowing the variety, knowing that the seed source is pure is important from the start, but right through to the end use product, because the end users need consistency in their processing, and they want to be able to understand the functionality of that particular product. So malt barley is a prime example of ensuring that a variety is pure from the start, and then right to the delivery of the end use customer that variety is consistent.
I always love a beer reference, and I always love stories on malt barley and when we're talking about traceability and everything. Andrew, is there anything else you'd like to add there from the seed grower point of view?
I think Todd made very good points. Malt barley would be big in Western Canada. I think of IP soybeans, identity preserved soybeans here in Eastern Ontario is a big, big market. Well, across all of Ontario, I guess, in Eastern Canada and into Quebec, where you can have a certain variety that has characteristics that the end users want, whether it be for their tofus in Asia or other food commodities. And the certified seeds ensures that quality is maintained through the entire value chain to get to the end user, and then it'll produce what they want. So Todd's analysis on barley can be used with other commodities as well.
Definitely. And Sarah, is there anything else you'd like to add? Yeah, the thing I would like to add is just echoing what the other gentlemen have said. But, in today's world, food, kind of the food movement, right, really comes down to food traceability and food safety. And those are important things that I feel like the certification system is able to provide to consumers, whether they know it or not, that's even available. But you can't be sure of a product, right, unless you know where it came from. And certified seed does provide that assurance, because we're able to track the seed from the time it's at a breeder stage at release all the way through the system until it reaches into the food production. So I think that's a reason for consumers to be aware of the program and understand it.
So that's some really good points there. I think we've been talking a lot about traceability in agriculture now for, I feel like the last 5 years. We've talked about blockchain. We've talked about people now being able to go to like the grocery store and just scan a code, which is blockchain, on your banana or wherever you're buying, and you can see the whole production story and learn. And I think that's really getting important to consumers. So when we're looking at that, that's where certified seed really slips in there, I feel.
I just want to build on that. Yeah, it's the certified seed is part of it, but and within the pedigreed seed system, it's that traceability right back to what the breeder intended that variety to be. And so the way it was released from that breeder into the seed industry, it's traceable all the way back, and that's such an amazing process to be able to. If as long as things are going well, it's not an issue. But having that traceability of things, if there is ever a problem, to be able to trace it back and identify it and solve it is so critical.
That's a really good point. And that looks into our food safety system. Like when you hear of a recall or something, like the access of information we have, or when we're still looking at genetics, when we're trying to figure out where something may be affecting different people, when you're looking at health issues, like there's so many ways that you can add this into your own everyday life. It's crazy. And our next question, I think I'm going to direct first at our resident seed grower over there, Andrew, and then Todd and Sarah can add their comments afterwards. So, how is seed growing different than commercial crop growing, and what kind of extra steps go into it?
That's a good question to try to understand the process. Ashley, I would say the idea of planting the crop, managing it throughout the season, and harvesting it, those steps and the way we proceed are certainly similar. It's all the finer details that go into the prep, the management, and then the harvest. When we're growing pedigreed seed, we ensure our equipment, as you move from one variety to the other, completely cleaned out so you can avoid contamination, or again, helping to maintain purity that you all have mentioned in your previous comments. So there's a lot more cleaning, inspecting, maintaining equipment. That's at the planting stage. There's also inspection criteria that we have through the Canadian Seed Growers Association. So the crop is inspected and double checked that we, in season, that we haven't got any contamination that showed up or off types in that field. Again, maintain that varietal purity. And then we make sure our harvest equipment is clean between each crop. And some of those steps in regards to cleaning and inspection, we don't do with our commercial fields, but they are the extra steps and effort we put in for our pedigreed seed production.
Thank you. And Todd, is there anything else you'd like to add there?
Well, I think Andrew's covered it well. It's the seed growers, regardless of the crop, do a lot of heavy lifting, and it's often over the extra work, that time to when everybody's going full tilt harvesting, and seed growers are cleaning down their combine and vacuuming it out and spending literally hours when the sun's shining, and the regular commercial farmers are going full tilt getting the crop out of the field. Seed growers are cleaning down bins, cleaning down augers, cleaning down all of their equipment to ensure that quality is there, so that the next generation of seed is pure. And so there's a lot of these extra steps that make seed growers special part of the value chain.
All really good points there. And Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Sure. So I do think it's sometimes difficult to compare the commercial crop system with the production of certified seed because, as Andrew said, it's all in the details, lots and lots of details, which make such a quality product. So when you look at certified seed fields, all of those have passed field inspections, they've passed storage and processing plant inspections, laboratory analysis, all prior to reaching the consumer market. And in commercial crop systems, generally inspections are not a part of that process. And if there are inspections and a quality control internal system, it's done internally. It's not a third-party verification system like we're able to provide with certified seed. Just an example, so in Wyoming here in the U.S., much irrigation in that area of the country is supplied from water from open canal systems. And so these canal systems have banks that are, I would say, a variety of plants or pretty much a variety of weeds, right, that are just a really nice seed weed delivery system to our crop fields. And when you have that, right, you're going to have lots and lots of problems. And the great thing about certified seed is we have mechanisms in place that can remedy those problems prior to them becoming big problems. And with that, kind of building upon that, we have people in our field, seed growers and certified seed growers in particular, are in their fields looking. They are very, very involved because of all those details. For instance, within the multiplication process of the seed certification system, from foundation seed that's first produced from breeder seed all the way to the certified level of certified seed. I know that can be a little bit confusing. If there's problems, if there's, we're looking for no noxious weeds are allowed. We're looking for any other types of contaminants, off types, off kinds, all of those things. We'll have people in the field roguing those fields, getting all of that out prior to harvest and prior to cleaning to make sure we have the utmost clean seed as possible. And I think that's some of those details that people are not always aware of that happen, but the thing that makes certified seed such a value.
Yeah, those are all some really good points there. And I think if we do have any consumers watching right now, just because we're saying all these extra steps that go into making sure certified seed fields are clean doesn't mean that there's not a lot of safety protocols happening with commercial crop growers either. Like everywhere in the food chain, we are making sure that the food you guys get on your tables is safe. And then another one that you said there was roguing, which of course is when if you are a consumer watching, I know when I first entered the seed industry, I did not know what roguing was. It was something it was one of those insider baseball terms I had to learn. So it's when the seed growers go through the fields themselves, like walk them and pull out anything that isn't the crop that they're trying to grow. So I think that was one of the things that really blew my mind about seed growing was when I learned that seed growers literally walk the fields to make sure that every plant in that field is the plant they want it to be. It's crazy. I'm sure, Andrew, I think every seed grower I talk to, that's the job that all their teenage kids do. That's what you grew up doing if you grew up on a seed farm. Yeah,
that has shaped a lot of farm kids in the seed industry over the years, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should sometime have all the seed grower kids get together and share their horror stories of roguing. And then my next question, I think I'll just start to whoever feels like answering it first. What impacts on food product availability or quality have we saw in past years where the commercial crop or seed quality wasn't the best? Because of course, at the end of the day, sometimes we just don't have the right growing conditions for the crops we want to grow. So what impact does that have on food availability?
I'll take a run at this one. I think you hit it. I don't think I've ever seen an instance where seed quality really impacted the availability of a crop. It's really the weather that can bring things down. And because we start with pedigreed seed or certified seed, it's the starting point regardless of seed source. So many farmers buy certified seed every year, which is great, but there's also many that will farm save their seed, but it all started with certified seed from the beginning. And so because of that, because of the quality that goes in to that certified seed off the start, their farm save seed is usable for a few seasons, and they'll replenish their stocks from time to time. So there may be isolated incidents where there's some limited seed quality, but overall, I'm thinking of Western Canada specifically, it's the weather that has the big impact. And because we start with good quality seeds, cleaned, there's a known identity for the most part, a lot of those are mitigated. And it's the investment in new genetics that help provide some of that security. So improved drought tolerance, better water use efficiency, better fertilizer use efficiency, shorter, stronger straw that allows for an easier, faster harvest, saving fuel. All of those things help the consumer in the end.
Yeah, I think those are really good points, especially when you mentioned about genetics, because we've done so many episodes of Seed Speaks where we're talking about different genetics that are getting added, like drought tolerance. Like there's so many works that's happening behind the scenes really to try to mitigate when we do see not optimal growing conditions. Andrew, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Todd made some really good points. I think the challenges are usually weather related, thinking about, in Eastern Canada where we can have higher moisture levels and you get certain times of the growing season, particularly pollination, where you can see higher moisture levels or rain events can cause maybe a higher disease pressure within a crop. And then that maybe means that crop needs to be directed away from human consumption and maybe into animal consumption. And so there are certainly impacts out there, but I think the industry, the seed industry and the commercial industry has got checks and balances in place to ensure that everything is directed in the right form and tested and carefully processed. But it is totally weather related here in Canada, whether you're east or west.
Definitely. We always come back to talking about the weather. I know before we went live, we were all talking about the weather wherever we were located. It's the most classic agriculture conversation you can have. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think they covered it well. We don't really see, if an environmental condition affects seed and non-certified seed the same. So just the struggles that we face in ag.
Definitely. And I have one last question to ask you guys, and I think I'll let Sarah take the first stab at it. So how does access to new seed varieties impact what food products consumers can access? Sure.
So for this, I think consumers today are concerned about a lot, obviously, right? But two main kind of themes that typically come up are food pricing in today's market, as well as health concerns and things relating to food around health. And so if you think about it, in the last year, groceries have increased in price by 11%, which is really affecting a lot of families across the world. And factors with this spike is a little bit of a puzzle, right? So we have folks here, Todd and Andrew and myself, with all different aspects of the industry, and from the ingredients to make food products, from transportation to wages, all of these things are a part of that puzzle. And it all plays a factor within what we have to pay when we go to the grocery store. And I think it's important to remember that we have crop breeders that are, very diligent and putting out new varieties to combat the issues that we're seeing. And we keep hearing the fact of, we have to feed that projected 10 billion by 2050. And that's a big focus for most of our plant breeders. Our yields, full or partial focus on these varieties. There's lots of conversations about yields. And yields, of course, directly affect those food availability and food cost within those markets. The second thing I mentioned was health concerns. And plant breeders are able to breed for specific traits such as vitamins, fatty acid content, proteins, resistance to disease. The list is long with that. So example, just with here in the South, we grow a lot of peanuts in the state of Georgia. Increasing fatty acid content in peanuts in recent years has been a focus research area. The oleic acid content in particular, which is a monounsaturated fatty acid, and that's linked to reducing cholesterol and in return reducing the risk of heart disease. So that's a really important part of the diet that we need to be considered, and something that plant breeders are putting in our varieties and helping release varieties that help combat these things. Kind of on the flip side of that, on the consumer side, it's very interesting when we're talking about peanuts and oleic acid in particular. Oleic acid, or increased levels of oleic acid, increase shelf life of peanuts. So they're able to sit on the shelf a little bit longer, and therefore kind of coming full circle here, it comes back to the cost and what consumers are having to pay for these products and the availability of them. So lots that go into this and to what affects our consumers for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. When you were talking about peanuts, I was just thinking back to a Seed Speaks episode I hosted a few months ago where it was talking about breeding for allergens. And one of the things that we talked about was that there's plant breeders out there that right now that are working on trying to make peanuts not allergic for people. So there's just so many different things I feel happen in
Incredible.
breeding crop. Andrew, is there anything else you'd like to add there?
No, I think Sarah made some good points. I would agree. I appreciate all the work that the plant breeders do across the world to try to develop new varieties. And me as a producer, of course, we focus probably number one on yield, because we want to make sure that we've got a yield there that will generate revenue for our farm and help us invest back in the farm. But there's a lot of other traits out there from food safety or human health that are benefit and being worked on. And it's great to see always the new varieties coming down the chain and coming out. A lot are successful, some are not, but it's a lot of trial and error. And I think it always, in the end, the yield part again benefits the farmer, but there's so many other characteristics available now that benefit the consumer.
Definitely. And definitely there's so much going on there. And Todd, is there anything you'd like to add on this?
I think I'll just reinforce the points that both Sarah and Andrew made, that so weathers are one of our biggest variables that we have to deal with in producing food crops in Canada, and new varieties. And so pedigreed seed provides a return to those breeding programs that helps encourage those new varieties. And so whether it be a yield stability trait, whether it's just additional yield or some drought tolerance or fertilizer use efficiency, all of those help ensure that there's going to be a stable food supply. There's some amazing technologies that have bred into crops in the last 20 years, built-in insect tolerance into wheat, solid stem durum varieties that are resistant to insects. They're fantastic. Just using naturally available variability in plants and introducing those over time, and being able to reduce pesticide use has been one of the most amazing things that I've seen. We also have midge-tolerant wheat in Western Canada. So reducing thousands and thousands of liters of insecticide no longer needed because the built-in protection into the crop. So it's fantastic, and something that needs to be continued to support so that it can move our crops and provide that stability that ultimately benefits end-use consumers.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many different things that we can talk about, really. And I always find it interesting. As I said, I keep on referring back to old Seed Speaks episodes. When we get talking about seed, everything's interconnected. So unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. But I'd just like to thank the three of you for being here. Thank you, Andrew, Sarah, and Todd. This discussion was really interesting. I learned a lot, and I hope our viewers did too. And if you have any questions about the subject or ideas for future topics for anyone that's watching there, please send a message to myself or SeedWorld's Facebook page. And for those watching, thank you for tuning in. And if you missed part of today's live stream, don't worry. We'll have it available. On demand on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, along with our SeedWorld websites. And next week, tune in as my coworker, Rebecca Carmelli-Pelsack, has some guests on to chat about how weather impacts what you see on the grocery store shelves, which I think is a great follow-up to today's episode, because, of course, we did talk a bit about that, how weather is really one of those things that you can't control in regards to the world of agriculture. So thanks, everyone, for watching today, and have a great rest of your day.